The start of a new season is a daunting time for anime fans. I mean, there's so many new shows coming out every single day, and then the new Weebcast hits, and it's, wow, only 3 hours long? What kind of dark magic did I pull to make that happen? Still, I get that that's a lot of time. In that time, you could watch 6 new shows and find out they're all terrible. There's got to be a better way. I mean on my channel, but now there is. Today, in as little time as possible, I'm going to be taking you through the shows this season that I think are the most worth watching as they air, and worth catching up on if they're sequels, because anime is a social experience and half the fun of watching it is talking about it with your friends, or the talking heads on YouTube that you pretend are your friends.
Also, one last thing. I love you.
Love you too, George. On that note, if you're looking to be sociable in the next 2 weeks and you're in the mood for something a little bit more vintage than the current season of anime, then check out the link in the doobly-doo, which will take you to Twitch's live marathon of the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters anime, which you'll be able to watch along with thousands of other weebs from the comfort of your own home. They were kind enough to sponsor this video, and I will tell you more about the stream at the end of this video. But, on the other hand, if you want to hear even more about all of the new anime that came out this season, then you should check out the seasonal Weebcast, which I will also link to at the end of this video. With all of that out of the way, here are 10 anime that, as they say, you should be watching. Yeah, that sure was creepy. Speaking of, my first and maybe strongest recommendation is something that, based on its synopsis, sounds like about the creepiest thing on the planet. Mahotsukai no Yome, or the Ancient Magus Bride, is about a young, depressed girl who is enslaved and sold at a magical auction to a giant man with a goat skull for a head who wants to make her his bride. Think Howl's Moving Castle mixed with an Amber Alert. Only, it's not creepy. I mean, it definitely has its spooky elements. Mangaka Kore Yamazaki has a real talent for straddling the line between the unnerving and the wondrous elements of fantasy and mysticism, but at its core, this is a profoundly heartwarming love story that's going to charm the pants off anyone who watches it. Maybe even literally, if you're lucky. The protagonist, Chise, is a grade A waifu once she gets past the whole existential crisis thing, which I'd know because I've read the manga on Bookwalker, and while you wouldn't think that Elias would be a good husbando, what with the lack of a, face, it turns out that the ladies will take a guy who listens to them over a guy with skin any day of the week. At least if you ask Yazzie. It also works as a really strong fantasy story, so if you've been craving something like Snow White with the red hair, or something like Full Metal Alchemist, Ancient Magus Bride may have you covered. But if that's not enough to slake your thirst for stories about magically gifted youths being adopted by ancient, weirdly sexy, immortal monsters, then I'm pretty sure I never ever want to see your browser history, but also UQ holder Maho Sensei Negima 2 will hopefully finish scratching your weirdly specific itch with its bright-eyed shonen protagonist who happens to be the adopted son of a vampire. As the name implies, this is a sequel to Negima, Ken Akamatsu's rip-roaring shonen battle comedy disguised as a harem series for marketing purposes. And like Negima, it is a ton of fun, combining solid action with the wicked sense of humor that was Love Hina's sole redeeming quality. But, and this is important, while it is a continuation of Negima, it's a JoJo-style distant future sequel with a new cast and a whole new story, so you can jump in without reading all 8 billion chapters of the original manga. Series fans will certainly get a kick out of the lore, but if you're looking for fan service, gags, and some fun shonen battles, ones that can go really over the top because none of the characters can die, this show is super fun and accessible. And as you'll expect if you know Akamatsu's work at all, it has a huge cast of unique and lovable characters, including many S-tier waifus. It's basically what you were hoping Black Clover would be before it turned out to be terrible. Well, that's the vampire anime out of the way, and in further keeping with the spooky theme of it's currently October, here's a horror anime that has one of the most terrifying introductions I've ever seen in my life. Howliner's Animation League, if you're not aware, is a Chinese-run anime production studio whose shows are, well, they're terrible. And Evil or Live is no exception to that. This low-budget prison school knockoff is only enjoyable in an ironic sense, but boy oh boy is it ever fun to watch with friends. And it's worth watching simply for what is perhaps the greatest scene in the history of all anime.
この騒ぎ心地なんだ。広大な宇宙、無数の星たち。僕は悟ったんだ。自然のあらゆる真理を。来るぞ、もうすぐだ。やっと。
Again, I must stress that this show isn't anywhere near good, but if it has even one more scene like that one, it might be worth sitting through the whole season just to find it. I promise, though, that the rest of these shows won't just be ironic fun. Unfortunately, they also won't be spooky because not a lot of shows are, and King's Game is a train wreck, so Garo Vanishing Line is the last sorta Halloween-y show that we'll be talking about today, and even then, only in the sense that it's got creepy monsters, including one made of boobs, and lots of blood. Garo is another franchise show, in this case a follow-up to Garo the Animation, which was a pretty fantastic anime spin-off of a tokusatsu series of the same name that nobody watched because it was on the wrong streaming platform back in 2014. Fortunately, Vanishing Line is a great jumping-on point. It doesn't have much in common with the first Garo at all, aside from having the same demonic monsters of the week and a similarly blinged-up Sentai suit. Oh, yeah, and a whole bunch of over-the-top violence. And an OP by Jam Project. Set in an obvious analog to New York City, beset by demons, which makes 3 shows this season with that premise, Garo is... oh, you guys heard Jam Project and you're already gone. I see how it is. Well, I can't blame you for that, but if anybody is still listening, this is as good a time as any to talk about Kekkai Sensen and Beyond, aka Blood Blockade Battlefront Season 2. Kekkai Sensen has a weird amount in common with Garo. It's also set in a demon-infested New York City, and like Garo, it was held back by streaming exclusivity. It also had its share of production problems, with its last episode being delayed for 4 months because it ran a little longer than its 30-minute time slot would allow. Yet somehow it was kept afloat by a combination of its pedigree as a Bones production and as the work of Trigun creator Yasuhiro Naito, and by its infectious and endlessly memeable ED, Sugar Song, and Bitter Step, which you better believe I'll be making a video about very soon. Still, Kekkai Sensen is far from the most popular anime in the world, and if you've never seen it, you should really get on that. It's only 12 episodes long, and every one of them is a blast to watch, featuring great action and comedy and some of Bones' best animation. Leonardo Watch is one of my favorite shonen protagonists ever, both for his uniquely awesome power and for his meek but not weak personality. And the supporting cast around him is a ton of fun too. Kekkai Sensen and Beyond is more of the same, with even better animation and more of that over-the-top action. There's no joke here. It's just a really good show I think not enough people have seen. That's a lot of shonen action series in a row, though, so let's change gears and take a detour out of the shonen ghetto and into the wonderful world of josei romance with Netju no Susume, or Recovery of an MMO Junkie. Because only 2 things in life are guaranteed. All adaptations of josei manga will be great, and nobody will watch them. It's been a while since Log Horizon showed the world how the technical side of SAO's MMO setting could be done a million times better. And now Netju has rendered its sole underlying theme, that online romances, friendships, and experiences are as valid as real-world ones, totally obsolete as well. If anime keeps picking away at it like this, soon the only reason to watch SAO will be Sinone's ass. Wait, no, Grimgar already took care of that. Really, though, Netju doesn't have that much in common with most other MMO anime. It feels more like a saucy J-drama than anything else, telling the tale of a 30-year-old lady shut-in who has a midlife crisis and drops out of the working world to play online games non-stop. She ends up finding love online with a handsome younger man in her guild who happens to live near her. A little wrinkle, though, they both play characters of the opposite gender online. Cue some adorable misunderstandings compounded by a few little white lies, and you have a touching comedic drama that tugs at your heartstrings just gently enough to hurt. I didn't think I'd like this show nearly as much as I ended up doing. On the surface, it seems pretty innocuous and boring, but I've seen few things that more perfectly capture the feeling of online social interactions, both for good and bad. If you're in the mood for an anime and you just want to smile, this is your show. Or if you feel like smiling a lot before never being able to smile again, then I highly recommend checking out Girls' Last Tour, a post-apocalyptic cute girls doing cute things anime that reminds me more and more of School Live with each passing second. And we all know how that one ended. Note, if you don't know how that one ended, go watch it right now. I can wait. The show's premise is pretty simple. Two adorable girls named Chito and Yuri wander through the bombed-out, snow-laden ruins of post-apocalyptic Japan, scavenging for food and supplies and keeping each other entertained with their cute, playful antics, which sometimes involve guns. Everything these two get up to puts a smile on my face, especially that sugary sweet OP, and I just don't trust it. I can't stop watching though. Girls' Last Tour has me trapped with its compelling mix of melancholy and sweet, adorable slice of life goodness, not to mention White Fox's great animation. But it could come to a full conclusion with absolutely nothing wrong happening at all, and I still wouldn't be able to trust it. A setup like this is a lot like seeing a dog in literally any anime. Nothing good can ever come from it. Although surprisingly, I have it on good authority that we are safe to love the Shiba Inu in my next recommendation, Inuyashiki. The premise of Inuyashiki, not to be confused with Inuyasha, is also pretty simple. What if, instead of selling meth after his cancer diagnosis, Walter White was turned into a battle cyborg after a messy alien hit and run, and also what if he had an advanced aging disorder that made him look 80 when he was really 58, and okay, maybe it's not that simple, but it is really good. What starts as a gut-punching drama about a man whose family just doesn't love him evolves quickly into a seinen battle power fantasy reminiscent of Parasite, except with an old dude. Inuyashiki is a decidedly modern and distinctly Japanese take on the superhero genre that straddles the line between biting social satire and affecting drama, and it just works. It works really well. I guarantee that you've never seen an old Japanese man look this badass. Except, perhaps, in our second to last recommendation of the day, Juni Taizen, or The Zodiac War, a balls-to-the-wall, action-packed death game series based on a novel of the same name by Monogatari and Medaka Box author Nishio Isin. Believe me when I say that this show is even crazier than that pedigree might have you believe. In its stunning production values and its delightfully twisted cast of characters, Juni Taizen feels reminiscent of Fate Zero, but with one key difference. There's no clear protagonist. Every episode, at least so far, has focused on a different character, and the show has a tendency to go a little Game of Thrones on whoever has the spotlight at any given time. This means that nobody has plot armor, and makes the show feel truly unpredictable in a way that death game anime rarely do. That means that you're free to root for whichever crazy character most appeals to you, and these characters have a hell of a lot of appeal. From the moment they enter frame, every one of them leaves a distinct impression with their wild personalities and incredible character designs. I mean, there is one character who kind of vaguely resembles a good guy, but nobody else trusts them, and you get the distinct impression that there may be a good reason for that. So it's entirely justifiable to root against them, even if they seem to be in the right. And that's cool. It's rare that an anime gives us an opportunity to simply pick a favorite character and then hope that they live long enough to entertain us. So Juni Taizen is a pretty dang brutal show, but not nearly as brutal as the last must-see show of the season, Just Because, which offers a very accurate portrayal of teenage awkwardness in that uncomfortable near-graduation twilight between childhood and real life. It's a story about 4 high school seniors just past their entrance exams and waiting for their futures to begin in college, and one transfer student who comes to shake up their lives in the last semester of school. It's a story about making the most of your youth and how fleeting that youth truly is. We see a lot of anime about high school, a lot, but almost none of them capture this pivotal moment in the process of growing up. If you've ever watched the last episode of Azumanga Daioh and wished it was a whole series, what the hell is wrong with you? But yeah, this is that show, and while I didn't know that I wanted it, god damn am I ever loving it so far. It's only the second full-length series by Studio Pine Jam, who made my favorite anime of last season, Gamers, and while I was already impressed by the studio's cinematic flair and sense of style, with this they've proven that they have a pretty damn impressive emotional range. It helps that the story is written by Hajime Kamoshida, the creator of The Pet Girl of Sakura So, which I also adored, but I don't know, there's something really special about this new studio, and I'm excited to see what they put out next. For a sophomore effort, Just Because is pretty incredible, and I really hope that more people give it a shot. Consider these 10 anime to be 10 commandments handed down by me, your anime pope. And like the real 10 commandments, you're probably going to ignore all of the ones that aren't about murder. But if you do give them all a try, let me know in the comments below what you think of all of them and which one you like the most, and tell me your favorite show of the season so far if it wasn't on this list. I'd also appreciate some feedback on this video since it's my first time doing one of these impressions videos and I want to know if I did well. And hey, before you post your "hey, what about this" comments, I left out Sangatsu no Lion and Osomatsu-san because I'm not caught up on either of their last seasons and I can't really talk about them personally, but I do love what I've seen of both shows so far, so consider these bonus recommendations if they're not on your radar already and you're in the mood for some incredibly sad or incredibly funny anime. I also didn't bring up Shokugeki no Soma because I feel like everyone who's gonna watch that is already watching the new season, but if you haven't given it a shot already, then yeah, Food Wars is amazing. And I really want to recommend Children of the Mud Whale because it's fantastic, but that's not getting a simulcast, so I guess you're gonna have to wait for it to come out in like a year and a half. Or more. But something you don't have to wait for is the Twitch live marathon of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, which is happening right the heck now at the link in the doobly-doo. Their summer marathon of various shows like Mob Psycho 100 and Dragon Maid presented a fun and unique opportunity for weebs to come together and talk about their favorite shows. And this is giving us a rare chance to relive our childhoods, talk about the goofy original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series with other anime fans, thousands of them, live as it airs, and have the new experience of wondering whether the video is buffering or that's just the theme song. It's time to duel! And I'm gonna be in there dueling with you guys on and off the whole time the stream is running, starting at 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time the day this video goes live. If you see Mother's Basement Official in the chat while you're enjoying some Shadow games, or Dungeon Dice Monsters, or that weird virtual reality arc, be sure to say hi. Attention duelists! If you see me on there, consider following my Twitch channel, that's Mother's Basement Official, again, all one word, which will be the new home for my live streams very soon. And if you want to support me even more directly, consider pledging to my Patreon at patreon.com/mothersbasement. I hope the heart of the cards guides you to one of those places. I'm sorry, that was cheesy. If you want to hear even more in-depth discussion of the current season of anime, click here for the Fall 2017 Weebcast on my second channel, or if you want more anime recommendations, then click here for a playlist of my top lists, and stay tuned for a recap of Summer 2017, hopefully coming in mid-November. I'm Geoff Thew, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.